Welcome, everyone. This is Glenda Dawson, your host on Tuesdays for Cosmic Conversations on the Conscious Awakening Network. I just want to thank you for continuously supporting us. And if you are looking to not only watch this show again, but if you're looking to watch this show, other shows from the past, please sign up at Conscious Awakening Network and just look for Cosmic Conversations. And it is free to sign up. All you need is an email and your name, and then you will get all the notifications. If you do sign up and you do not receive notifications, please let them know so they could figure out what's happening. Sometimes they may go into spam and you do not realize it. With that being said, I want to welcome my guest tonight, Angelique-Kowi Gravina. Did I pronounce that right?
Yes.
Oh my goodness, I did one right. Good. For those that don't know me, I butcher names. Don't know why, but I try, but sometimes it just doesn't work. It could be the simplest thing like Matthew, and I somehow don't get it. But so, Angelique, tell us about yourself.
Thank you, Glenda. Thank you.
Oh boy. All right, that's okay. Let me pause.
So, yeah, and if you're watching this later, I hope that you enjoy listening to us talk about magic. And as I said in some of the posts where we shared this upcoming, talk, magic shouldn't really be scary, or it shouldn't be something that is only practiced by people with evil intentions, or magic can be fun and magic doesn't have to be scary. So I actually like talking about that particular aspect, about how it can be fun. And if you allow me, I can share like lots of stories about
Yes.
one after the other things that happened that are funny and magical and so forth. So so let me just say, for those that don't know, I live in Johannesburg, and I was always interested in magic, but because of growing up in Christianity and the society, magic was always something that was seen as something that evil people do, or something that is brings demonic forces into your life, or something like that. So I thought it's something off limits. And at a stage, maybe 2-3 years ago, like the last of the people that were in my life that had this viewpoint and that had like I would say say in my life, or like bearing as to what I do, they left this realm. So I found myself actually with freedom to just express myself and do what I wanted. So that was I don't want to say it was like it sounds bad to say it's like a blessing in disguise, but it is nice at a stage to be like a grown up and feel that you are able to like step into your own power and do what you want to do without judgment from others. And I have a son, and he was like, I don't judge you for what you're doing. You just do your own thing. So I was like, okay, that helps a lot, because it's one thing having children. You know those movies where the kids are like, drop me off like 2 blocks from the school because they don't want to be seen with you. So I was glad it wasn't a situation like that. So I don't know. Would you be more interested in hearing about how we practice, what we practice? Would you want to hear
Yes.
some funny stories? What would you?
How we practice first, and then let's go to the funny stories, of course.
Okay. So I'm still training. I've literally just been busy with this. I thought about it the other day. I know my teacher for about a year and a half. Let me quickly tell you how I found my teacher. And I think some people are going to really like this story. So I obviously trying to improve my life and all of those things, getting rid of programming and indoctrination from religion and all those things, I obviously have a manifestation, routine and things that I do, and I wear, which I've taken off because it's kind of like gross, but I wear like a scroll around my neck, and people are always like, "What's that thing around your neck?" I'm like, "What thing?" And I put it away. um, one of the things I had on my affirmation list was a teacher. That one is a magic teacher, but I specifically wrote there a very specific teacher, related to a very specific, tradition of magic. So in human terms, or from a human perspective, I'm practicing what is the Norse tradition, called Seither. I always wonder if I pronounce it right, Seither. Yeah, like an R going in there. So I practiced that, but I wanted a specific teacher. And so on my affirmation list, I had this teacher that I wanted, and I did a Reiki course. And during one of the lessons, the teacher had us do like a meet your spirit guide meditation. And I also thought it would benefit my life if I have a spirit guide, because they can like help you. You're tapped in, more things. Okay, so I thought, okay, I can do that. Leading up to that, I was kind of like closed off to the idea, spirit guides and all of that, because of institutions that told you demonic forces, blah blah. So we did this thing, and the teacher came through as this spirit guide in that first meditation, but I didn't actually get to meet him properly. It was just like a white blob of light, and I had like a good feeling to it, but I didn't really get to meet it. But so after this, I was like intent on meeting, getting to know this spirit guide. Um, so I found other meditations, on YouTube, how to guide you to meet your spirit guide. So yeah, I found a really nice one. It really felt comfortable to do, because there are different ones and you don't really know which one to do. And anyway, I found this one that really worked well. And so slowly but surely, my teacher introduced himself. Like, it was just first a blob, then it was more like a shape, but I still couldn't figure out, like, is this a male figure? Is it a female figure? I was new to this. I couldn't tell by the energy. I just knew that it felt nice. Like, it really felt calming and good to be in that presence. And so slowly but surely, like, I got used to this whole thing. And then one day, at a stage, I reached the point where I was able to like get messages directly, because before that, what we would do is, and I always tell people about this, about telepathy. So the teacher would give me a message, and it is packaged in like a shell kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then you take that and you like put it in your forehead, or you put it in your heart chakra or something like that. So then you get the message. But basically then later on you only get the message. Like you'll be walking down somewhere and you're like, oh, it's like in a download form. So when I got past that stage, one day the teacher told me, I'm not your spirit guide, I'm your teacher. And so yeah, so this whole thing, like, I was like, oh, because like what I realized is on my affirmation list, I had written, so I don't know who here knows what Ulfer are, from Norse. I hate the word mythology. From Norse legends. I don't know if anybody knows what that is, but so it's basically like very little is known about them, but it's like, I would say, a certain, not I would say, but like they're like beings that live in a dimensional plane, here where we are, like on this house that we're living. So they're here. And yeah, so yeah, I just like realized, like, this is what I manifested coming from there. And then he also said that my ancestor was the one that sent him to me, but because I was closed off to this whole thing about spirit guides and speaking to your ancestors and things like that, it took like this long period for me to get to the stage where I have this teacher. So yeah, so that's how I found the teacher. So people are sometimes a little bit taken aback by the fact when they learn that my teacher is not like a human. I'm like, yeah, I'm meeting my teacher, we're having class or training, blah, blah. And then they're like, oh, where are your teacher from? Or, where are you meeting a teacher? And then they're like, oh, you just meditate. So it seems a little bit, to some people, it seems a bit strange. But so, let me share this part, which is quite nice. I understand how I understand this works is, let me take a sip of water. Oh my gosh. Sorry. How I understand this works is, well, actually, I'll say with my limited understanding of this. Oopsie. With my limited understanding of this, when I'm meditating in my space, I'm projecting my consciousness to a place, and my teacher, wherever he is projecting his consciousness, and then we meet up in a certain space. So when you meet in that, under these circumstances, you can actually feel the energy of the other person. So it feels different, I think, for a lot of people. But for me, I would usually feel like a tingling sensation or like a comfortable sensation. I have met, afterwards, the teacher introduced me actually to my ancestor. And like with the first time I met the ancestor, there was like this overwhelming purple. It felt like I was inside. You know what cotton wool is? Like felt like I was surrounded by cotton wool. I know it sounds trippy, and it was purple. So I was surrounded by purple cotton wool. So that's how I got used to what his energy feels like. So yeah, so you projecting your consciousness, and that person projects their consciousness. You meet somewhere. So I understand that's how this remote connection works. When the teacher directly enters I'd say my direct space, when some being that's not present in your physical area enters your space, you also feel their presence.
Yeah.
On their side, I don't think they feel much, because I have also projected like into an area where they are physical. Then I don't necessarily feel this energetic sensation. I think they feel, because then I'm the apparition, the apparition.
Well, you should be able to feel, if you realize that when you do that, there is a change in your field. There is a change in what you're feeling. When I go there and we meet in nowhere land, as I call it, I could tell that they're there. I could hear what they're saying. They could hear what I'm saying, and they could, on the other side, also feel me. So when somebody's saying to me, "Oh, I live, 6,000 miles away from you," I'm like, "Yeah, so they doesn't matter, because you'll be able to communicate in that level even without phones or anything like that. Like, you'd be able to use yourself, your higher self, to do that."
Yes. And that's correct what you're saying. Like when you're meeting in nowhere land.
Nowhere land.
Yeah.
I don't know what to call it.
Yeah. But so what I'm picking up is when I'm meeting where they are, I go where they are. The feeling is different to when you're meeting in this nowhere land situation. Yeah. So, so that is it. So things that happened. Let me go into some things that happened. So, last year, maybe August up until December, I had quite a lot of free time. And during this free time, we practiced. We aimed to practice magic for 4 hours a day, because I had lots of free time. So, Saturday, or on one Saturday morning, for example, there's a very specific book that I'm writing, and it is kind of related to all of these things. And I saved the book on like a memory stick. I have actually one of them here. Saved the book on this memory stick. And so the Saturday morning when I woke up, was around 8, and I didn't feel like getting up. It's a Saturday. I didn't feel like it. And anyway, so what is amazing about this is like this memory stick like flipped over on my desk several times. I was laying with my back to the desk actually, and I heard the sound like the memory stick. It's like a square thing. It was like flipping over on my desk, and it fell to the floor. It like skidded. So why I'm talking about this is because it's interesting that it's like a poltergeist activity actually. And people would normally be like, oh, you know, that's like demonic, or you have like spirits in your house is like an evil thing. And it's actually, I think it's not, unless it is, but you need to be discerning to know what it is. So in that case, I just knew, okay, get up because the teacher is like, it's time to practice. It was specifically that memory stick when I related.
He was like, come on, we've been waiting long enough. I know it's Saturday, but let's get to it.
Yeah, it is like that. And another instance that I had of this is with the teacher, I met my ancestor, and I spend quite a lot of time with the ancestor, especially lately because I'm working on manifesting a specific thing, and you know, I'm getting some help. So at this stage, in the beginning time, when I was meeting with my ancestor, I figured out that this ancestor likes this specific song because on YouTube, this song also has, it's like a meditative state song, but it also has the ancestor's name in the title. So I just feel close to my ancestor when I listen to this music. So I have it on a playlist, and it's like, let's say, like the third song on the playlist, for example. And excuse me, because it was also on a Saturday when this happened. Um, you know, when you're like in the beginning stages of all these things, maybe you'll doubt yourself a little bit. You're like, oh, this stuff is in my head, you know, this maybe I'm just making it all up, you know. and
Did you get a smack for that yet?
You doubt yourself a little bit.
A smack for thinking that way?
Yeah. So what happened is I met the teacher and we were talking, and he was like specifically giving me instructions for a type of practice. I just freaked out. I was like, this isn't real. This isn't real. You're not real. I just freaked out. I went out of the meditation. So outside of the meditation, he still told me, call your friend Nabila. So I called my friend Nabila. She's also practices like us, not exactly the same, but anyway. So I called her and I told her like this stuff isn't real. She's like, it's real. You have to, you know, you just go with it. You have to believe you have seen over and over, because I have like stories which I can tell where things have happened, including like the memory stick, you know, that flips around in my room. So she's like, no, you have to, you know, you just have to trust. You have to trust. And I was like, okay, all right, fine. So I finished the call with her and I go back into meditation to apologize now to the teacher. I was like, sorry for freaking out on you, and etc. etc. And before I went into the meditation, started music. And the music that was playing was below the ancestors' music that the ancestor liked. Right. And it wasn't like it was set to play random or anything. It was specifically set to follow that sequence. You know how it works on YouTube. It goes the song after song after song. Right. I didn't set it to shuffle. While I'm speaking to the teacher, you know, apologizing, I hear the sound of this music and I was like, oh, you know, that's the ancestor song playing. And so when I finished the meditation, basically YouTube had jumped from where it was lower down back up to the ancestor song. And I was like, oh my God, this is like so this is like such an indication that what's happening is actually really happening. If you want to look at all of these things and still saying it's not happening, then maybe you should question, you know, your sanity. Because if you're thinking, you know, maybe I'm insane for thinking this is real, okay, that's fine. But if you're having like physical things happening in your life and you can actually see it, then it becomes insane to think it's not real. So leading up to all of that, how do we practice? So, excuse me. So I'm not reading any books related to Seidr practice. I did find a book that I actually liked and wanted to read. And the teacher was, no, don't dilute our practice. I'm giving you the instructions, so don't read this book. So I'm not reading books on the practice, but things that I might have mentioned this in my previous chat with you, Glenda, things that we practice is, for example, so this is like a long-term thing. It's not like, a short course or something. So there's a long-term thing. And basically the stage that we're working at right now is to get me to believe. You have to believe in yourself. You have to believe in your power. You have to believe in your capabilities. You have to be sure that you trust that, magic works, that you have this power, that you do influence your reality. So we're going through this whole thing, including, I know it doesn't sound really magical because a lot of it's just brain work, basically, I would say, mental work. We also have this thing which is called super focus, where I've told you about this, where you have to specifically focus on a certain scene for a while to train your mind. So because the other day we were in ER with my son, and he was undergoing something, and I wanted to send him healing energy. But because of the situation and the intensity of the moment, I was not able to focus. And I was like, this is why the teacher is pushing you for super focused practice, so that you can be there in that moment and totally focus, not be distracted by what's happening around you. I couldn't focus for 1 minute. So I was like, yeah, this is actually why I focus very well when I'm on my own, but in a situation like that, I can't. And I actually think, if you're practicing magic and you're calling yourself like a mage, I'm just an apprentice, thank goodness. But if you're calling yourself a mage and you're practicing, you should be able to, if you're in a situation like that, focus. I mean, it's all very well being able to sit at home or in your sacred space where you're working and send out energy. So like for example, the frequency work that we do with the earth, right? It's very well saying like, okay, I can do this, and you focus in, and that's what you're doing. But there's something different to being like outside in the world among people and having to do something on the fly to influence the situation. I think that's like when you're like really at like a stage where you have developed your skill.
See, this is where I have the benefit of my background. Being a paralegal, you had to focus on what you were doing, no matter what was around you. So you kind of had to shut everything out.
Yeah.
So that's why it's a lot easier for me to do that, even in the middle of an ER or in the car or whatever. I could actually let the physical drive while the mind is focusing on the energy.
Yeah, that is definitely a skill. It's a skill to that you have to like hone, I would say. It's not, I suppose here and there someone will have that comes naturally to them. But for the most
You'll
part,
get it. You'll get it.
yeah, for the most part, it's something to work on, I think.
Yeah, and what I tell my students is first you do it at home, focus on the flame of the candle, and until you get rid of everything around it. And then you could go outside to the park, for example, and just focus on one thing and let everything else slowly. And that's one way to practice that skill.
Yeah, that is true. At least there are some ways, or there are lots of different ways, and you can find something that works for you, and you don't have to force yourself or doing something that doesn't actually work for you. So that's part of, like I said, it's not really all that magical when we practice, because it's a lot of mind stuff, really, just getting to a stage where you're like good at focusing, good at holding your energy or holding your power. So the other thing that we do practice from time to time is actually like moving energy. And this is, I obviously enjoy this part very, very much. Being able to draw energy from certain things, from certain places. Maybe and it's very much like Reiki as well. This is why I'm saying if you're practicing Reiki, you're just a mage, people will be like, they practice Reiki and they're an alchemist and they're this and that, and I'm like, you're just a mage,
Yeah. It's still basically the same thing. Energy is energy.
Yeah. That is true. So I understand that for say there are like more advanced things. I understand that people would actually, oh yeah, trance work is as well the other thing that it's used for. It goes as far as I would say to be able to send people messages in their sleep, or communicate with people while they're sleeping, enter their space. It's usually easier while they're at rest, because then you can speak to them directly, as compared to when they're like busy having a day and walking around. So that's it. Let me talk about. I was thinking that I wanted to tell you about this very specific incident I had, it's quite a nice story. So I last year, I don't know, around maybe May or so, my son had another accident, and I was relatively new to all of this. In the morning, I woke up and there was the smell of vomit outside in the yard, and like I smelled it, nobody else smelled it. I asked the landlord, "Can you smell this?" I asked my son, "Can you smell this?" Nobody else could smell it. I could smell the smell of vomit in the yard, and I was like, "It's so crazy." So at a stage, I closed my windows because it was like the smell was like overwhelming coming into the house, and then my son left. To go to a friend. And then he called me later. He had fallen, broken his arm really badly. And when he told me that, I clicked with this vomit smell. I was like, okay, I understand where this thing was coming from. It's actually in my understanding was an entity that was hanging around in our place. And he attached to my son, and the whole injury happened. So then after that, I asked the universe for protection. And I didn't know what this protection was going to look like. But so the other thing that I have is, people that are ignorant, poison bees, like they will spray pesticides and on their plants and so forth. And so I often find bees, and I've had that often maybe every second month or so, I'll find a bee that, I don't know if you know what they look like when they've been poisoned, but they kind of like disorientated, like they'll fly around in a circle, like just on your hand. They don't go anywhere. So I find those bees, and I usually like extract the poison from them and like give them Reiki energy. So, and then sometimes it works. I would say 90% of the time it works, but at other times it doesn't. So I have like a whole collection of bee bodies.
Right.
So this particular day, I had a bee like this. And after the cleaning session, the bee stayed. I wouldn't exactly say maybe the bee needed the cleaning. I don't know. The bee, it in my mind, it was like a regular situation. But what was strange about this is the bee stayed after the Reiki. It stayed on my hand. I was like, okay, buddy, are you leaving or what? And it stayed. So I put it in my basil plant.
Right.
And I don't have the picture I got on my computer to show you, but I have it on my phone. So from the time when I asked for the protection a couple of days after the accident of my son, until the time when the bee actually left, was like 45 or 49 days where it sat in the basil plant. And I have pictures of it over several days where it's there. Obviously, the timestamp on my phone, you can see the time I took the picture. And the bee sits in the basil. It doesn't look like it put its stinger in the basil. Its wings were not attached anywhere. It just sat there. Like if you move the plant, the bee would move around with the plant like it where it's going. But it would just sit like that. And I was like, okay, so this is the protection bee then, right? Because so I searched, on the internet, bees and, what does it mean and so forth. The bees protection.
Right.
So the bees stay there for 45, 49 days. And then I do speak about this often. So I'm not sure if I already told this previously when I spoke with you. So I met this new friend, and she told me that someone wants to speak with you. Someone wants to work with you. So I'm not going to say who this is now, but it's like a powerful being, right? Wants to work with you. And but she says you're listening to music all day long, and she can't get through to you. I'm like, oh, okay. So I went that evening out into the garden. I tried to speak to this being, and I woke up the following morning with I would say like a recipe for magic, like a ritual that I wrote
ritual.
and yeah, and the whole thing was nice, but it involved me putting like physically blood into this ritual, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, it just I since then I have done similar things, but back then it was beginning stages for me, and I was like, oh, I'm not sure if I want to do this, and so I did the whole thing. I did the whole setup and everything. And for the love of God, no blood would come out of my finger. So afterwards, someone told me, don't prick it there on the pad. You prick it on the side. If you prick it on the pad's more like tough.
Right.
I was like pricking. I called up like a whole bunch of spirits and everybody, and I'm like, look, blood's not coming out. Like I have this audience felt under such pressure. In the end, I cut off some of my hair and I used some there. I was like, let's just do this thing. Um, so then I don't think she was pleased. So, because following morning, um, I so I did that thing. I went to sleep. The following morning, I woke up. This big noise against my window. A bird, like the cutest little mouse bird, flew straight into my window. And as I picked it up from the floor, it was like a little bit warm still, and I realized it's not gonna make it. Like it was like such. And
Right.
I also I'm like, maybe I should try do some Reiki, to revive it. And I'm like, do I have a right to do this? Maybe it's at the end of its life. It chose this. Should I be doing so? I'm like doing Reiki. I'm like, no, don't do Reiki. Like I was totally perturbed. And I kept looking over at the bees, like, oh, the bee's still there, thank goodness. And then I'm busy with the bird, and I'm looking back at the bee, and it's like, oh, the bee's still there. And at the stage, I looked over, and the bee was not there in the plant anymore. I was like, what the hell? So the bee's walking next to the plant. I leave the bird, I run to the plant. The bee is walking next to the basil plant. And like, there were no ants there. So it's not like the ants carried the other bee away, and this is a new bee. It's that bee. I knew it.
Oh.
So after like 45, 49 days, the bee came back to life. I picked it up and as I had it in my hand, close to the door, it flew out of the door. So I was like, okay. So
Okay.
yeah, so this whole story is like I understand was a protection bee. I didn't do the spell right. I don't know, the bird was like a message from her, like we're done, or what? I don't know. That's such a crazy moment. Um, yeah,
Or she
so
was hoping that you would use the bird since it was already dying as the blood part.
I didn't think about that.
It's already knocked his head out. It was already going, they figured, okay,
Yeah,
once it's dead, you could
yeah,
just,
yeah. Oh my
yeah.
gosh, I never thought of that. But
There's
I
option 35. Option 35.
thinking about it, I don't think I'll be able to do it. I don't think I'll be able to do
I can't do the blood. I always ask for, okay, another option here. It's not happening with blood. Not mine, not anything else, not happening.
it. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
if you want fake blood, I could put food coloring in water. We could call it fake blood, but it ain't happening. Not
Substitute with a
happening.
stillness.
That's just not happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
I go for
So
blood tests and I faint. So it's not just
yeah,
imagine me
that's
trying to put in the blood and I'm going, okay, boom. Yeah, no. So option 35.
yeah. So I hear what you're saying. That would be a
Yeah,
disaster.
yeah.
It would be more of a disaster if it fall forward on top of the stuff. Like
Right. Yeah. So here I have this altar, all nice with all the things. Everything is perfect. Everything is going step by step, and then I faint. It's not good.
I hope Hollywood's listening. This is a good idea for a movie.
Sure they will. At some point, they're gonna be like, who practices without the blood? I'm like, me? I can't do it. Just can't.
Yeah.
I don't think it'd be beneficial for anybody or anything. So.
No, no. If that's about would end up totally crooked.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So that was an interesting experiences you definitely
Yeah.
have had.
Yeah.
Now, did you ever actually meet your teacher in person?
I don't know. So I don't meet my teacher ever in like person, like we meet
Right,
in that space. And
right,
occasionally the teacher comes into my space, like especially in the beginning, the teacher would
right,
come into my space for like, moving stuff. And I had at times, even before I started practicing, I had felt an energy.
right.
This is gonna sound crazy. I had twice
No
heard
more
someone
than anything else. No, I'm joking. Okay, you can set me later. That's okay. Go ahead.
I'm gonna send you a bill for my cheeks. I'm gonna go for a massage.
Okay.
Um,
So, so
I
before you started practicing, go ahead.
Yeah, so before I started practicing, I would actually feel I don't know how someone doesn't get this. Like you can feel a presence entering your
Hmm.
space. Oh, which reminds me, I have some other stories I can tell you. But I had twice heard someone speak to me through my AirPod. And
Hmm.
like I was like the first time it was like some language I didn't understand. And the second time I think it was English, but it wasn't English that made sense. And so what happens is I would be like washing dishes, for example,
Right.
and like it feels like my son's sneaking up behind me, and then I would turn around and there's nobody. Then I'm like, oh,
Hmm.
okay, I've gotten used to this. It's a
Right.
comfortable feeling.
Right.
Um, Before I started practicing, like when I just got. So I think for a while someone was giving me messages and instructions here and there. I thought it was a tree across the road that was speaking to me, and things like that. But I would get these inklings. So I was still living on the same property, but in a different space. And
Hmm.
I would just have this feeling to walk outside. I'd walk outside, and like there's like this passage that you have to walk through, and then you get to the garden, right? And my
Hmm.
door is now behind me, my house door. And so I'd get to this opening in the garden, and there'd be like a being standing there. So I'm not seeing the being with my physical eyes, but I can feel the being standing there, right?
Right.
So we're both not just like standing there. I'm like, at beginning stages for me, I'm like, what's going on,
Right.
And so I would say we are standing there staring at each other. That's how I would put it. And next moment, there's like this thudding sound behind me. And if anybody knows me, I am extremely scared of cockroaches. So I spin around. This massive cockroach dropped right behind me, middle of the day. So now the cockroach is between me and my door, and I am totally like a child. Like I'm not sure
Yeah,
how to
like
get to my door, and I'm like, in hindsight, I was like, it was that being. That was his trick that he pulled on me.
to get you to go.
And I think it was fun for them. I think someone was at the top and someone was there, and like I was called outside. And once I was there,
Right.
I was like, let's drop a cockroach on her,
Yeah.
And thank goodness they missed me because otherwise we would have had problems. Um, yeah, so um, that I don't know if I told did I last time talk about the fresh wood smell, the fresh cut wood smell that I found in my house.
Go ahead. That would be
Um,
great.
okay, all right. So when I just moved to Johannesburg, maybe in the third month or so that I was living here, my son, we were, he still is, but at that stage, I was also considering to convert to Judaism. Stepped out of Christianity, wanting to, not be in no man's land. I was thinking about Judaism, and so on Saturdays, you have this really calm day when you do nothing. For us. because we were not really, converted yet. So we were just like doing nothing on those days. So my son and I took a walk to a specific area. It was the first time we walked there. So we're living in the city, obviously. So we walked through the streets. I found this, it's like around a little bend. When I found that bend, there was just something about that place. I was like, wow, like it has energy, like it just draws me there, right? So I walk daily. I walk there every day. And when I walk past there, I'm like greeting the trees and everything. Like I feel like there's a portal there. To me, it feels like a hub. Like it feels like there's lots of energy up and down there, but I can't see anything. Very frustrated. But so the first time when I walked there, I found this place and I was like, wow, this is like a really interesting place. It's like, when you're a kid and you come across something in the forest, or you come across, like, you're walking in the woods and you come across something, and it's like so amazing. So I went home, my son left, and I lay down on the couch. I was going to sleep. And that house didn't have lots of windows. It had like one door, and then it was quite strangely built place. So the windows were closed. I'd closed the door, obviously locked it because I wanted to sleep. And very shortly afterwards, I had like this overwhelming scent of fresh cut wood. It just smelled like wood. And into the house, and I sat up and I was like, wow, this is really intense, and interesting. And the second Saturday, we did the same thing. We walked there. I came home, my son left. I lay down on the couch, the same wood smell. So afterwards, when I've spoken with people about this, they think it was like maybe a gnome. I think that's the word she used. She thinks it was maybe a gnome or some of the other woodland creature. I don't like the word creature, actually. Woodland being, I suppose. Yeah, that followed me home out of curiosity. And so interesting how if you step out of the space where you're scared of it, and you seeing everything that you don't know and don't understand, you're seeing it as demonic. It's really interesting when you step out of that space, how you can get into like this really comfortable space where you can just like basically observe what's happening around you without all the fear and without all the drama. I'll quickly tell this story. So back in Christianity days, I moved into a new house. When we moved in there was the smell of like a wet dog, and you all know what a wet dog smells like. There was a smell of a wet dog at the bottom, near the landing, by the carpet, and also on the stairs. And they were tile stairs. So at a stage, the wet dog smell moved from the carpet area and from the landing up into the stairs. And like my son didn't smell it, but my mom at that stage, she smelled it as well when she would visit. And like we'd wash those stairs, like flipping wet dog smell. How dirty were the people that used to live here, And we'd wash those stairs, but that smell just remained. So then I got really into fanatic Christianity, and I was like, oh, this is something, And so I drove that being out there with some Jesus prayer, which I'm now not very proud of. So
hey, you got to use everything, honey. You got to use everything.
No. My point is, I think that being might have been there trapped. It might make use of some of the other portal humans built there. It couldn't move. It couldn't use the portal anymore. Whatever happened, it was trapped there. And maybe the humans that lived there before me didn't smell it. And then I'm there. I had the ability, because I could smell it, I should have had the ability to help it go home, or help it return. Instead, I cast it out like it's something dirty. So I'm upset about that, but I've forgiven myself, but I'm really stressed.
We are all learning, right? We're all evolving, and things that you encounter today, you may not deal with the same things. Even if it happened 10 years ago, you may have different aspects and different way of looking at things.
No, that is true. But I specifically mentioned this in the hope that someone else hears this and they will approach this in a different way, because it's not necessary to be, to view everything as evil or bad just because you don't know this. Yeah.
Very little evil. There's really very little percentage of evil.
Yeah, I think I
maybe
agree with that.
maybe some
Yeah.
angry spirits because, because they're stuck or whatever occurred to them in their life, or
Yeah.
if it's a place that is known to be haunted, a lot of
Mm.
people go in there and make fun of the spirits that are there.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they may be angry, but they're not
Mm.
evil.
No, that is the case. That is the case. So I have made friends with a bunch of witches, specifically South African witches. So I don't consider myself a witch, but I do find their practice interesting. I enjoy comparing how they do what they do to what we do what we do. Um, so one of the things that someone they told me actually today was that over Beltane, that was just now because in Southern Hemisphere it's reversed. Um,
Mhm.
some people are practicing reverse, some people are keeping to the, it was actually Sohain, and some people are like it was Beltane. But anyway, so the energy remains kind of the same. And she said that she had only learned this week to protect her animals during this time when the veil is thin, because some mischievous beings
Mhm.
like to make animals sick during this period, or they make animals sick. And I'm maybe saying like is not the right word, maybe just by virtue of their presence, it
Right,
affects animals.
right.
So it's not nefarious at all, actually, it's just their presence that's doing this. But yeah, so maybe that's also not even evil, and I just thought of that now when I spoke to you about it. So it's maybe just their presence that brings this about, not so much that they're purposefully trying to make animals sick. But a lot of what we know, excuse me, a lot of what we know about them comes from Christian writers and Christian lore, and this is so it's a little bit biased, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it the Bible, okay, has been rewritten
Mm,
and translated to everybody's
mm,
convenience and for their purpose. The original writings were very insightful and meant to be very healing and
mm-hmm,
kind of like a guide so you could be a better human, so you could grow, so you could evolve. Like when Jesus said, you know, you'll find the divine basically in us, right? They don't realize that it's not out there, it's
mm,
in here. And
yeah,
so there's a lot of misconceptions, but great stories, great, good feeling behind it. And maybe once we get the one translation of the actual original writings, people
yeah.
will see how much different it is. So,
I agree. And since we're at a stage where people have the capability to remote view and all of those things, maybe someone should
mhm.
make it a project to go back in that time specifically and copy those
Mhm.
writings over,
Right?
or at least look for some that are still in existence that were
Yes.
not burned, or some hidden somewhere. I'm sure there is. Find that. And,
Hmm. Yeah, well, the
and then
Vatican has all of them.
that too. Maybe there's something outside of the Vatican still somewhere. Yeah, yeah. The
So,
Vatican, another story.
oh, yeah. So, what what actually made you go in this direction versus a witch, but you're mage, or what resonated with you more than just or not shouldn't just say it just a witch, but being a witch versus being a little bit different, more spiritual type of thing.
I'm actually not spiritual at all. Um, but I think what the big factor for me was I would say lineage, bloodline. This is the overarching thing for me. It's like a destiny thing, basically. So I was born into this bloodline because I think as a soul before I incarnated, I actually think I spent quite a while disincarnated. I don't know, is that a word? Before I incarnated into
I,
this body as a soul on some level. I
you
spent
rested a lot. You took a long vacation.
As I was born, I was like, vacation time. So I did that, and I think that's where I planned this, because like when I think about these things now, and especially like the things that we're doing and that we're working on, I'm like, me, the person that I'm thinking I'm not, like, I would never have chosen this for myself. And then my ancestors like, yeah, thank goodness that person that chose, that soul that chose at that stage didn't have all of your hang-ups that you have now. So yeah, I think it was chosen like on a pre-incarnation level. And then it's because from the beginning when I started, I obviously read here and there something about on the internet about how to do, but a lot of it was just intuitive. A lot of it was just, like I said, I feel like I've been receiving messages from the beginning. The minute I opened to it, like before I wasn't open to it, and it all started with this tree that I met in the garden. When I spoke about it last time, having to choose between the tree and religion, and saying, if God doesn't want this friendship between us, then stuff God, I will go with you. So the minute I opened to this, like the messages came in and the rituals and things like that. So I think that's where it started, just being open to it. So yes, totally. In hindsight, I can say, what Christians are saying about don't open yourself to speaking to spirits, don't, because it's going to lead you down a bad way. It does, but it's not a bad way. It's actually, it's destiny. It's where you're supposed to be. So
Right.
yeah, open yourself up to this stuff. Be careful, protect yourself, but open yourself up to the stuff, so you can actually find what you're here for. Before I opened to any of these things as well, I would also, I heard it somewhere on a video somewhere. I'd wake up in the morning, I'd be like, universe, what's my purpose? What am I doing here? Because we all just wake up, well, not all, but a lot of people just wake up and they're like, oh, another day. And I was like, what am I doing here? This isn't it. This isn't it. So yeah, find what you're here to do, and you'll really be happy. I'm super happy. I'm super happy. Yeah. I know I'm
I can
sighing, but
tell.
it's just.
So, let me see if anybody has any questions, any comments. Okay, can you put in the chat how they could contact you in case they do want to follow you? And I've seen some of your beautiful things that you are selling also, so they should put that in there too. So, yeah. All right, no questions, no comments. All right. Is there anything else that we haven't covered that you want to
Yeah, there's a
tell?
lot. I can talk forever.
I just want to thank you because I know it's the middle of the night for you. So I do appreciate um, you showing up, staying up, and being present. So that's basically how it's just, we always love talking. It's we always have fun. And you're going to have to send the bill to Kathy for your cheeks hurting.
Oh,
She's decided to pay for all that stuff lately. So
nice. Thank you, Kathy.
so all right. I wanted to say thank you to everyone that's here today. We appreciate this, and thank you to those that watch later. Again, please go to Conscious Awakening Network and register under the Cosmic Conversations little tab so you can then receive the emails with the future guests, and you could also watch the previous shows. Thank you, everyone. And as always end, love you. Bye.
Bye.